A very good afternoon to our Facebook viewers. My name is Dick Kubana. I'm the legal manager here at Legal Aid South Africa. I deal mostly with people who are accused of crimes who appear in the criminal courts. That's what I do. So, as you know, the 21st of March is Human Rights Day. So March is Human Rights Month. And here in Legal Aid South Africa, we celebrate this month. And as part of our service, we communicate as widely as we can with our clients, with South Africans at large about their rights. Today, we're going to have a discussion about the rights contained in this booklet here that you see, our wonderful world-class constitution. Siyazwana? Now, we are going today to look specifically at a section of this book, Section 35 of the Constitution of South Africa. This section, Section 35 of the Constitution, deals with the rights of arrested, detained, and accused persons. This broadcast here is our third broadcast. I'm sure some of you would have seen this broadcast before. So what will happen is, during the broadcast, you are welcome to leave comments or questions about human rights below. If we cannot respond to your questions today during this video, you must look out for a message from us or a response in a future video. Rita fetula diputso litseni nang litsona. Sizayiphendula yonke imibuzo eninayo. If you require legal advice, ngamangu maifi, kharali ba tshi khou ṱoḓa thuso zwa zwino kana ngeletshedzo zwa zwino, you can call our toll-free advice line on 0800 110 110. This number you can see right behind me here, so I'm not going to repeat it. You can write it down. This is the number to call if you require legal advice, spontaneous, instant legal advice on any issue that you've got. You can call this number on weekdays between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. But if you cannot call for some reason, simply send an SMS, a please call me message to 079 835 7179. Ungathumela please call me kuleyo nombolo engiphane ngayo 079 835 7179. Ukhona umuntu ozokufonela ozophendula please call me yakho at no cost to you. They say you will have the opportunity to ask whatever question and ask for advice, and that advice will be given to you. Please like and share this video to spread the word on human rights to all South Africans or to those that did not have the opportunity to watch this live broadcast. I'm now going to have a look at this very important section of our Constitution, Section 35 of our Constitution. It affects people who are in real need of the protection of their rights. And these are people who are arrested, people who are detained either in police stations or in prisons, or people who are accused of crime. But this is not a good experience. That is when you really need the protection of all your rights, because you're in a vulnerable position. You've just been accused of doing something that you may not have done, or that it may never be proven that you have done. Now, what are the rights that you have as an arrested person, or a detained person, an accused person? Now, I want to speak first about the one right that I think is the most important of all. Now, this is the right to legal representation. Not everyone knows the intricacies of the law or what you should do if you're arrested. How can I protect my own rights? What is going to happen? What is the next step? Am I going to be locked up, and are they going to throw away the key, as people always say? Am I going to go to court? Am I going to go to jail eventually? How do I defend myself? What should I say? How do I go about it? This is the reason why you have lawyers or legal representatives. Now, our organization, Legal Aid South Africa, is the largest law firm in the country. So we've got the most lawyers of any law firm you can find. How do we assist people? We assist those people who do not have the money. Abangena mali yokukhokhela ummeli. If you find yourself in a situation where you're arrested, but you've got no money to pay a lawyer, Legal Aid is there for you. Legal Aid South Africa is available for you to give you the legal representation you need, and particularly cent. It won't cost you 1 cent to get that service. Now, the reason why I start with this important right to legal representation is I will tell you of a lot of other rights that you've got. Now, these rights I know because I'm a lawyer, but I do not expect everyone to know about them. You may not remember each time something happens, but also you're also not anticipating that you're going to be arrested at some point. You don't sit expecting to be arrested, so you may not know all these rights. That is why it's important for you to have someone on your side who knows of these rights, who can tell you, Makunje, this is what you must do. Makunje, this is what you can do, or this is what you cannot do. This is what you can say, and this is not. These are things you cannot say. Some of the things that happen to you immediately after arrest will have implications throughout the trial and right up to the end. And it is easy for you to make a mistake that you cannot retract, that you cannot withdraw, that will stick with you throughout the trial. So first things first, very important, get a lawyer. If you've got money, go and instruct your own lawyer. If you've got no money, come to Legal Aid South Africa. We're here at your service at all times. Now let's talk about the right to remain silent. If you're arrested, usually your accuser or the police will come to you and say, t-shirt la shop, shoplifting. Now, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed now to give your whole defense there and tell the whole story of what happened? No, in terms of the Constitution, you've got the right to remain silent. And the reason for this is, it's not for you to prove your own guilt or even your innocence. It is for the state who's prosecuting you to prove your guilt. If they cannot prove your guilt, there is no burden on you to give facts that will prove your innocence. So you've got the right to remain silent, to say nothing. This is one advice that a lawyer will always give you if you've just been arrested, to say nothing, to remain silent. Because you don't know what the allegations about you, it stems from, or who the witnesses are, what the witnesses are going to say. The safest for you is to stay silent. In many cases, look, munhu wakomiwile. Nambi wonyeketa ti reasons ku hlamusela ku ri xilo lexi mina ni swi tivi kumbe ni swi endlanga. Awu va ta khoma va ku pfalela nghena police station. From there on, you will go then to court, and it is for the court to decide whether you're guilty or not. It is not for the police. So it serves no purpose to go and give long explanations to the police. You must exercise your right to remain silent. There may be circumstances where maybe you have to say something or give an explanation for something, but as I said to you now, the reason why there is this right to remain silent is so that you do not say things immediately after arrest or in shock that may stick with you throughout the duration of the trial. That's an important right. But this right here to remain silent, you have to be informed of this right. Met ander woorde, die polisie moet vir jou hierdie reg verduidelik as soon as you're arrested. It is not good enough for you, or you may not even know you've got this right. So as soon as you're arrested, you must be informed of this right and of the consequences, what will happen if you do not remain silent. I'm sure most of you watch American movies. You see if a person is arrested, the police get there and say, hey, we're arresting you for whatever. You got the right to remain silent. If you don't remain silent, whatever you say will be used against you. It can or will be used against you. And that is very true. The police don't always warn you of this right, but it is your right to be informed or to be warned of the consequences of not remaining silent. I've given you some clues today. Now you know why there is such a right to remain silent. So I gave you some ideas why it is so important to exercise this right. And let's move on to the next right. Also related to the right to remain silent, but now this is the right not to be compelled to make a confession or admission that can be used in evidence against you. Now, it's quite easy to accuse a person of something, but not always easy to prove their guilt. Now, what is the easiest way then to prove a person's guilt? Get them themselves to say, yes, I'm guilty. This is what I've done. This is what I did. Give you a confession, give you admission, say, yes, I was there, or I did this, or I did that. Now, if you do make a confession, you make admissions, you can be sure that this will be an easy way to use this against you at a trial. So if you spoke to a lawyer immediately after arrest, they will warn you against this. Do not make any admissions. Do not make any confessions. The reason again is it is not for you to prove your guilt if you are accused of an offense. It's for the state to do this. So if you're arrested, no one is supposed to say to you, oh, come give me a confession. Or come, make some admissions. Were you there? Or do you have a gun? Where's your gun? Is this your car? It's not for you to prove your own guilt. Remember this right. I'm going to move on to the next right. Now, this is also very important right. If you're arrested, you must be brought before a court as soon as is reasonably possible. Now, as I said before, if you're arrested, eventually, whether you're guilty or not, it's for the courts to decide. It's not for the person accusing you or for the police who are arresting you to find out whether you're guilty or not. It's for the court to decide. But the courts are there to protect the rights of the public, but to protect your rights also. So it is very important that soon after your arrest, you must appear in court. Now, there's a time limit that is put down for this. If you're arrested, you must be taken to court within 48 hours of your arrest. The only exception to this is if there's a weekend in between. In other words, there are days that the court does not sit in between. So let's say you were arrested at 5 p.m. on a Thursday. Now your 48 hours expires at 5 p.m. on Saturday. So in those circumstances, you should appear in court first thing on Monday morning. You cannot be held in a police station indefinitely. You have to appear in court. Now, when you appear in court at the first appearance, it is your right to be charged or to be informed of the reason for your detention or why you should continue to be detained or you should be released. So you must appear in court. Court must tell you this is the reason why you're here, you're charged with this offense, and this is the reason why you are in detention or that you'll continue to be detained. But however, you don't have to stay in jail while you go through your trial. You don't have to stay in a correctional center while the trial proceeds. You've got the right to be released on certain conditions if the interests of justice so require. Now, this release here is what is usually known as bail. Everyone knows what bail is. Bail is not a fine. It's not punishment for whatever you asked it for. Bail is just some money that you pay as a guarantee that you'll come back to court. That's all. It's a temporary measure. If you do come back to court and your trial finalizes, your money will eventually even be given back to you. So the first important step after arrest and after appearing in court is that you must apply for bail. You won't always get bail. There are circumstances that may call for you not being awarded bail, or a court says, no, you cannot be given bail. But all these circumstances relate to the risk of you not returning to court to attend your trial. That is what it is about. But otherwise, bail is their right, is their entitlement, unless it can be shown that it is too risky for you to be given bail because you may not come back to attend your trial. Now, I've already mentioned that if you are detained, whether you are detained, you've just been arrested, or you're a sentenced prisoner, whether you're a sentenced prisoner or you just been arrested for the first time, you have to be informed of the reason why you're detained. You can't just be locked up and no one tells you why you are detained. Now, before I proceed further, I need to clarify one aspect. And this is an aspect that one of our Facebook viewers has asked us. This question comes from Darren, and he wants to know if Section 35(1), in other words, these rights that I'm explaining to you now, apply to illegal immigrants. Now, this is a very good question. As you all know, South Africa is a constitutional democracy. One of the things that we had to deal with when we moved to a constitutional order is to get rid of discrimination. Discrimination, that is one, historically, this has been one of the biggest problems in our country, discriminating against people for various reasons. Now, a human right is a human right. Human rights do not discriminate. If I say you've got the right to life, in other words, you can live, no one can kill you arbitrarily, you can't be sentenced to death. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, if you're South African or you're not South African. If you're appearing in a court in South Africa, we are all equal before the law. We've all got the same human rights. It doesn't matter. Even if you are in the country illegally, the fact that you're in the country illegally may be a separate offense, but it doesn't mean that you do not have rights like everyone else. It doesn't mean that I can just meet you on the street and kick you, or that I can kill you, I can take your possessions arbitrarily. It does not work that way. So I can say, Darren, without any doubt, illegal immigrants also have exactly the same rights in our courts and in terms of our constitution as any citizen of this country, a citizen of South Africa. Now, Darren asked this question again. Who has authority or who has oversight for a person to be detained for longer than 48 hours? if you cannot appear in court within the prescribed time limit. Now, the starting point is it is illegal to detain a person for longer than 48 hours if they don't appear in court. That's settled. You can, if you appear in court after 48 hours, that court will, in all likelihood, just release you and say, but your right has been infringed. You must go, because the detention of a person beyond the 48-hour period is unconstitutional. It's against our constitution. However, as I mentioned before, there is an exception if the 48-hour period falls on a weekend. In other words, on a day that the court does not sit. In that case, you will be kept at the police station until you appear in court. Now, if you at a police station, there doesn't have to be specific oversight, because our police also, they also educated on the rights of detained and arrested people. So for that limited period, at most a weekend that you kept at a police station, you will be kept under conditions that are obviously in accordance with our human rights culture in terms of our constitution. However, as I mentioned before, the most important thing is initially, from the moment you get arrested, get a lawyer. So if you're not too sure what's going to happen to you during a certain period while you're held at a police station, are the police going to come and assault you? Are they going to force you to confess to a crime? If you want to avoid all this, the first point is get a lawyer to represent you. I'm going to move on to another important right. The right to choose a legal practitioner, I've already explained. If you can afford to pay for your own lawyer, by all means, you are entitled to choose any lawyer of your liking to represent you. But mungenayo imali yokhokhela ummeli, unelungelo futhi constitution le ngiphethe la iyasho ukuthi unelungelo lokuthi uthole ummeli ozokhokhelwa nguhulumende. In other words, at state expense. It's not ilawyer kahulumende, but it will be at state expense. That is how that is how your right to legal representation will be protected. But also, not only do you have that right, you have to be informed of that right. So if you're arrested, the police must tell you you've got a right to legal representation to get yourself a lawyer. If you say to them, but I haven't got money to pay a lawyer, the police must inform you, but you are entitled to legal representation at state expense. You can get a lawyer at state expense. In South Africa, to get a lawyer at no cost to you, the body that is tasked with it is Legal Aid South Africa. This is the organization that I work for. And you've got our contact number behind me right here if you need assistance from Legal Aid South Africa, or if you need to know where to go, where our offices are located, you can simply call our toll-free number and you'll be directed to where help is. Now, you have as a person the right to challenge the lawfulness of your detention before a court. And if your detention is unlawful, you must be released. So you are entitled not only just to defend yourself, but if you're detained for a reason that is not a valid reason, you are entitled to be released. Now, while I'm at this point, and going back again to the question that was asked by Darren about illegal immigrants, I want to tell you of a case that happened recently, where Legal Aid South Africa was involved in protecting the rights of illegal immigrants. Previously, if you were arrested in South Africa and you were suspected of being an illegal immigrant, You will be arrested, maybe sent to a police station, and then you'll be deported or sent through the repatriation center, which is in Mkhale city known as Lindela. From there on, you'll be sent back to your country. Up to that point, only the police maybe and Home Affairs have, established this, and they've decided, no, you're an illegal immigrant, you're an undocumented foreign national, and you must be sent back to your country. You did not have the right, or that right was not given to you to appear before a court within 48 hours of your arrest, like what happens with all other people who are arrested. But Legal Aid South Africa, together with Lawyers for Human Rights, took this matter to court. And we said it cannot be right that a person is arrested for being an undocumented foreign national, and they don't even have a chance to go to a court and say, hey, I've come to challenge the reason for my arrest. So we went to court. This matter went all the way to the Constitutional Court. And the Constitutional Court said, no, you cannot just arrest a person and deport them and they haven't appeared in a court. We won that right for undocumented foreigners to appear before a court so they can challenge the lawfulness of their detention, not just be shipped to Lindela and then suddenly out of the country, because there could be reasons why those undocumented foreign nationals are in the country. Some of them could be in the process of applying for asylum, for instance, or for refugee status. Now, if you're intending to apply for refugee status, and while you're on your way to Marabastad in Pretoria to put in your application, you are suddenly arrested. That right to apply for asylum, for refugee status, is also taken away from you because you won't be able to apply for that status anymore. I'm telling this story to emphasize the right to challenge the lawfulness of your detention and to explain to you how far we, as Legal Aid South Africa, has stretched this right to include people whose rights were previously trodden upon by reason only of the fact that they were suspected of being illegal immigrants. I'm going to move on to the next right. Now, let's say you're arrested, and this again ties to Darren's question about oversight, and I have explained before that the police also have to live according to the prescripts of this constitution. So, one of the sections here in the Bill of Rights in the Constitution says, if you are arrested or detained, you are entitled to conditions of detention that are consistent with human dignity. You must take note of that. The conditions must be consistent with human dignity. And those conditions must include at least exercise. You must be able to exercise. And you must be provided with adequate accommodation. You must be provided with adequate nutrition. You must be provided with reading material. And if you are sick, you must be provided with medical treatment. These are basic rights that every detained person is entitled to. So you cannot, while you're locked up in a police station or in a correctional center, say, hey, I'm sick, or I take chronic medication. Now I haven't got my chronic medication here, and no, they just ignore you. No, it doesn't work that way. The food that you eat, you cannot eat substandard food. You've just been arrested on suspicion of committing an offense. You were just arrested on suspicion of committing an offense. So you should be given nutrition that a human being, a normal person, human being, should be entitled to. For all we know, you have not even been found guilty of the offense that you've been arrested for. You could even be found not guilty, in due course of the offense that you've been arrested for. You are an innocent person. But even if you've gone through the whole process, the whole trial, and now you're sitting in a correctional center as a sentenced inmate, you are still entitled to all these rights, because you are in that correctional center not to be punished, not for your back to be broken. You're in that correctional center as an exercise in correction, as the name says. In other words, to get you back on the right path so that you can be a valuable member of society again in due course. Says one. Now, next, and I'm going to deal now with a final set of rights that arrested and detained people are entitled to. Now, while you are in a police station or you are in a correctional center, you are entitled to communicate with and to be visited by your spouse or your partner. You're not in isolation of some sorts. Your spouse is entitled to visit you. This is your family. Your next of kin are entitled to visit you wherever you are. You are also entitled to have your chosen religious counselor. It doesn't matter what religion you are, whether you're Christian, if you're Buddhist, if you're a Muslim, you're entitled to have your chosen your religious counselor to visit you and offer any religious counseling that they can give. You are also entitled to have your chosen medical practitioner to come and visit you while in detention. You remember I said you are entitled to medical care at state expense while you are in detention. But if you can afford to have your own medical practitioner, or maybe your chosen medical practitioner, or maybe the medical practitioner under whose care you've been previously, if you can afford to have that medical practitioner attend to you, you're entitled to have that medical practitioner come to the place of detention and to give the medical care that you need. But however, if you cannot do this on your own, you do not have the money to do this, the police or the correctional services should do this at no cost to you. In other words, they must get you the medical care at no cost to you. Now, I'm just going to look at some of the questions that you have posed. I see I'm getting all the questions from Darren. Darren, you're planning to do something. I'm just joking. You're quite entitled to ask me whatever questions you want to ask me. Now, Darren asks, can one say that the right to legal aid should be competent insofar as the legal practitioner does not have too many cases to deal with? Now, very good question. The reason Darren asked this question, and he explains further, is that he says that if you're paying a private lawyer, that lawyer would spend more time on your case. That is Darren's question. Now, this is a very interesting question. Does it mean that if your lawyer carries more cases, that the representation that they will give you will not be quality legal representation? That you need a lawyer with fewer cases to give you quality legal representation? Now, this is a question that we have dealt with over many years here at Legal Aid South Africa. Now, all lawyers, whether legal aid or private, carry some sort of a volume of cases. If you were a lawyer and you only had one case, you will probably not be in existence in the foreseeable future. You have to carry some volume of cases, and you need to have time to spend on those cases in preparation and doing trials. Usually, when the cases that a lawyer carries are in various stages. So, for instance, today we were talking about arrested persons. So if all of you were to call me today and say, we need help, your cases will appear tomorrow or Friday, and your cases will be brand new cases, fresh cases. You're not going on trial. It takes some time for a case to go on trial. Sometimes it takes some time for especially an opposed bail application to be heard in court. So if you see a lawyer carrying 10 cases, don't think, oh, how is he going to deal with all those 10 cases in one day? No, wait 1 minute. Some of the cases are things that will be dealt with in only a few minutes because some of the cases are new, they are in different stages of litigation. But there is no way that you can do substantial work in a court in all 10 cases in one day. So this is when lawyers schedule cases, they take this into account. So in those 10 cases, there could be just one case that is going to go on trial. In other words, where some substantial work is going to be done. The other cases could be cases that are there for postponement, could be cases that are there for unopposed bail applications. This is how lawyers will schedule their cases. This applies to all lawyers, whether they work for Legal Aid South Africa or they're in private practice. This is how lawyers schedule their cases. So if you see a lawyer carrying his 10 files and you're one of the clients, don't think, oh, I wish I was the only client. If you were the only client, that lawyer would be out of business in no time. Even we as Legal Aid South Africa, if we only had one case to deal with in a day, the resources that we require to sustain our organization would probably, we wouldn't have a reason for it, because just assisting one client in a day, just because the client wants to have that highest quality of service would not be economically feasible. But let me tell you something about quality. The quality of a service that a lawyer gives is dependent on a whole lot of other things, not necessarily the caseload. So the higher the caseload, the lower the quality is going to be. In fact, the reverse could actually be true. You could have a poor quality, not only in legal services, but in all other walks of life, where there is not a high volume of work, but the quality may not be good at all. So the control over the quality of the services of lawyers is a totally different aspect. And this is something, especially at Legal South Africa, because we've got so many lawyers that work for us. We've got lawyers that render services to the clients on a day-to-day basis. But for all those lawyers, we've got supervisors who must supervise their work, and precisely to make sure that the clients get a quality service. Because no one wants to say, hey, but I went to a lawyer at Legal Aid. No, the quality of the service was not good. We are also accountable to the South African public, and we're accountable to Parliament for the services that we give. We have to give proper and high quality services. And this is an aspect that we control very, 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 very closely. I can tell you now, maybe even more than some lawyers in private practice, especially lawyers who are in smaller formations who may not have the supervisory or managerial capacity that we've got. For each of our lawyers has to report to a supervisor or a manager who oversees their work. And we have to check the quality of the work on a regular basis to see that it meets set quality standards. And we do have set quality standards at Legal Aid South Africa. This aspect of quality is an aspect where we are world leaders. And we regularly get delegations from other countries in Africa, in Europe, in the Americas, from the Far East, who come to Legal Aid South Africa to study our model, who want to know how we can achieve set quality standards. This is a very important aspect of our work. So, Darren, don't be afraid. The fact that a lawyer is carrying a large number of cases does not mean that will necessarily compromise the quality of the work. No. Also, if the quality of the work of the practitioner is compromised, I can guarantee you, we will know in no time. Never mind that we've got complaints mechanisms in place that if a client is not happy with the quality of the work, they can lodge a complaint, and that complaint will definitely be investigated. On top of that, we also conduct client satisfaction surveys. where all our clients that we represent, we take a sample of clients and we get their feedback on the quality of the service that they receive. Because this is one aspect that is very important, not only for us as legal in South Africa, not only in the legal profession, in every industry, quality control is one of the most important things to look out for. So, Darren, do not be afraid. We are here to give you quality work, quality legal service at all time. Now, to our Facebook viewers, I must thank you for joining us today. These rights that I've just explained to you now are very, very important rights. I am, on another occasion, going to go further on Section 35 of the Constitution, and I'm going to explain what rights you've got now once you have appeared in court. Now, when you're called now an accused person, I will explain further what rights you've got from that point on. If you have any questions, any further questions you have, send those questions a message. But again, if you require legal advice, if maybe from what I've just said now, or it's an issue that you always had, but you didn't know what to do or who to call or how to resolve it, as I said, look at the number behind me, 0800 110 110. This is a free advice line number. You can call and you will be given the assistance you require. And if the agent at our call center does not assist you or doesn't deem it necessary to deal with your issue at that point, they will refer you to one of our offices where you can speak to a lawyer of one of our paralegals and your issue will be dealt with. Our call center is open between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. But again, we've got an additional contact mechanism if you cannot call us at the call center. Simply send an SMS. Send the SMS to the following number, 079 835 7179. Angeke umuntu ongena cellphone kula malanga. But with this service here, we're saying you can call us. You don't have to use your airtime. We are going to call you back. Please join us Friday afternoon. We are going to have a very, very interesting discussion that deals with the rights of children. Bana ba rona. Very important. The rights of our children. We are going to have one of our advocates, Elizabeth Nevold, who is very experienced and an expert in this field, and who's got a lot of interest in protecting the rights of children. This is a passion. She's got a lot of passion in protecting the rights of children. And she will be taking you through those rights. Please send us your questions and remember to like and share this video to spread the word on human rights to your colleagues, to your friends, to your family, to all your acquaintances, to all those who were not lucky enough to join us this afternoon. But from me, Dick Kubana, thank you very much and goodbye.